Alright, the purpose of this demo is to demonstrate scraping data from a datasheet and also fracturing that data up into different parts or different symbols. So to get started, I'm going to create a new component. I'll give it the name Frank and say OK. Now I'm going to want to grab data from a datasheet. So we have a scraper button there, and from this I'm going to open up a data sheet that I use fairly regular for demos because it's difficult. This is a table of what a part might contain, the information. I know it may be difficult to see all the data on this, but we have a signal name here and buses identified. We have a signal type, and then we have 3 different sets of pin numbers depending on the package. I'm going to use a 64 pin package, I believe. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just circle that table, and you notice that when I do, it shows up in my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and it shows up as a table. Now I can simply say do a table build, and I'm going to use this button to say there's a couple categories here I really don't want to see, like that. And at this point I can pull that into a spreadsheet. That simple, which I'll do. And I want to increase the size of this as much as I can here for you. Alright. Now the next step is I've got to identify this information for our spreadsheet. So I'm going to select this as a function name, this as a pin type, and this column here will be my pin designator. You notice I have some red showing up, and the reason for those red is over here you'll notice that those names have overbars. My overbar tool will let me add an asterisk to replace the overbar, which I'll do, and now you see those parts have the appropriate overbar asterisks after them. Having done that, I'm ready to move it to another spreadsheet where we can check it and flatten it, because you notice it has multiple pin numbers here for each signal name. So we're going to have to flatten that out in order to build a symbol out of it. So I'm going to just transfer it out to the next tool, and down here down here you'll see that we've got just a few lines, but there are multiple pins defined per line. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to check it and make sure I got all the data I need. And it's going to tell me that I have at least one invalid pin type code. In other words, it can't determine what the pin type is here. So that looks appropriate. I'm going to come down here and fill it with one of the possibilities. In this case, I'm just going to say analog because I don't know what it is. At that point, I'll check it again. And this time, it's given me some errors, which I'm going to ignore for this demonstration. But it's also flattened everything out to one pin per line. You see that? And we have 64 pins now. So what you saw in just a few button presses is my ability to move data on a data sheet that's in a table into a formatted, ready-to-go spreadsheet. Now let's go look at the next step. Once I've done that, I can say done, and it will bring you back to this screen, which is falling offside the recorded screen. My next step here is to create symbols out of it. So I'm going to push a button here, and you're going to see that by default what was built has all the pins on one symbol on the left hand side. Not really useful. So the first thing we're going to do is move everything back to the spreadsheet over here on the left, and my symbol has no pins on it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to order everything by the pin name. I'm going to sort it so that I can easily pick pins out that I'd like to use on this symbol. And the way I'm going to divide it is I'm going to put all of my grounds, powers, and no connects on one symbol, and then I'll put all my intelligent information on the second symbol. So because it's divided the way it is, it's kind of easy to scroll down and find the no connect pins. And I'm going to put those on the upper left. And you see how easy it is to do that. I just press that button and it puts them right where I asked for. Now I'd like to put the VDD after that, so I'm going to highlight VDD and I'm going to put a control character down when I hit this arrow, and you see how it put a blank there next to it? And now I can simply add all my VDDs. They have a VPP. Again, I'm going to hold the shift key down and you see that go to a separate line. Now the VSS, I think I'll put those on the right side. And I think that collects all of the data that I'd like to put on that particular symbol. So I'm going to create another symbol. It's empty. And I'd like to put my control lines in the upper left. So I'm going to scroll through here. There's a control line, I would think. And I'll add it. And these three look like control lines. I'll add them. And then you notice I have a clock 1 and 2 here. Now I'm going to sort those so they fall in order. I'm going to hold the shift or the control key down. And you notice it puts both of them down below, one keystroke. I kind of like that. I'll grab those 5 lines, reverse their order, hold the control key down, and you'll see that I added those. It's an easy way to do a symbol. Finally, for the left side, I'm going to take those lines right there. I'm going to reverse their order, hold my control key down, and add them to the mix as well. Alright, that leaves just a few lines left. I'll take this group, reverse their order, I'll put those on the right. And then this group, reverse their order, and hold the control key down and put them on the right. I didn't have to press the button very many times, and I've gone through 64 pins, organized them, so that I have 2 different symbols here, and we're set to go. When I say done, you'll note that in my tool it has created 2 symbols. If I cross probe here, I don't have a footprint attached, and it's going to warn me about that, but it puts the symbol in place along with a spreadsheet, and I can look at gate 1 or gate 2 and see basically what I had earlier. I hope all of that makes a lot of sense to you. I'm very tickled with what happens here. I would take a minute and show you a couple of other scraping capabilities using that same data sheet. I'm not going to go all the way through the process this time, but I'll show you that we can scrape other pieces of information other ways than just tables. For instance, I can take this and I can say, I want that chunk of data right there. And with that, I can I remember how to do this here. Yeah, I have to circle it, and I can come over here and paste it in. Not what I had in mind. see. Oh, I know what I did wrong. There we go. Operator error. I could also come back and grab the next set of lines, or next set of numbers, and do the same thing. And so forth. I could do that across the bottom as well. So I could grab this, and when I come over here and grab this, come here, paste it, and I've pasted it incorrectly, but you get the idea. I have the ability to take these columns and rows and move them in place as I need them. It's a quick way to gather data about your part. Now, obviously, this data sheet, this page of the data sheet doesn't have the pin types and so forth. So you'd have to do a little bit more manual entry if you were pulling apart with just this information. But we find this to be a very quick way to create parts. Hope you've enjoyed the short demonstration, and I look forward to showing you some new capabilities with our tool in the very near future.